you for coming. We were not exactly sure if our members, forest and bird members, would be interested in listening to Jane, who's not talking about a forest or a bird, but a few, good, see? But I think the turnout is bigger than when we do forests or birds, so maybe that gives me a Thank you so much for coming. I'll be right there, and stay in front of the camera, then we can record you, and people later can listen to you online. Also, I'm be careful what I say. Nah, we'll just go believe. Thank you.
Absolutely. Kia ora koutou katoa, and thanks for coming out on a groggy winter's night. And it tells me how much interest there is in Te Araroa, because it's a real phenomenon. It's just growing and growing, and yeah, I'm very happy to share my experiences. Sorry, I've got to stand here because I've got to push the button. First of all, I just want a bit of a show of hands to get an idea of who I'm talking to, because I don't want to, you know, speak to the converted, as it were. So, how many people have walked Te Araroa? Okay, good. Then you don't know if I'm telling the truth or not. How many people are trampers? Whoa. Yeah. People don't trip over their cord. I had another question. What was the other question? Never mind. Big landscapes, big skies, big challenges. Okay, so there's a map over there, but that's basically where Te Araroa goes, from Cape Reinga to Bluff. It's just over 3,000 kilometres. It goes in all the hardest places to walk and make sure that all through the country. Some of them a bit ridiculously hard anyway. That's, you know, kind of depends on the weather sometimes. So Jeff Chappell, I don't know if you know, but Jeff Chappell was the man who conceived it, and
was a Henderson High School pupil.
Oh, I didn't know that. He's written a few books, actually. I think he's written about 3 now, and he got the funding for it, got everybody throughout the country. He's started all the negotiations with DOC and landowners and councils and private people, you know, stations, all over the place to get it, and that continues. It's a never-ending battle's the wrong word, never-ending negotiation with, you know, iwi, private landowners. Mostly those are the difficult ones. And there's a series of 8 regional trusts. So they just got a funding recently for a full-time person to run Te Araroa Trust, and I think they have another person who's the publicity person. So now, just what do you want to know about? If you just put your hand up when I say one of these, you know, just to give me an idea of where to put the emphasis, and I can whiz through the rest. So the philosophy. Yeah. Gear, food and preparation. Oh, lots of hands there. Okay. The trail, geography. Yeah. Navigation.
Everything.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good. Scenery. Yeah, scenery. It's a very good website. It's got lots of scenery on it. Accommodation. Yeah. Mishaps.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, and challenges. Yeah. Okay. That works. Okay, so gear. Well, I came dressed in my gear. I always wear a long sleeve cotton cover-up shirt because I've got that sort of skin. Other people don't, but that's what I do. Of course, I always wear my big hat. Very light pants because they dry easily if you get wet. And then I've got my Hunter's Element gaiters on, and we discovered these. If you walk, sorry, if you walk through a little river really quickly, your boots stay dry because it's neoprene.
Oh, cool.
And we met a hunter who swore by them, so we thought we can get some. So I mean, you can get the big ones, which are really good for, you know, sharp, scratchy, that sort of thing. But you can't really wear them at the same time. But you often get wet and sharp and scratchy on the same day, so I don't know. So I'll start at the beginning. So, one morning in early 2021, it was near New Year. A more philosophical person who one of my walkway buddies said to me when I bumped into her, "So Jane, what does this year hold for you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to retire." And she said, "And then what will you do?" You know, he did the stink mark. And I said, "I'm going to walk to Araroa." Now, I don't know where that came from. It just came out. So having said it, I kind of had to do it then. And I thought, it came out of my subconscious. So I must really, really want to do it. So I set to and started doing some research and planning, because there's a lot of that. I started recruiting a walking buddy because I didn't want to walk it on my own, sensibly, I think. And happily, after trying a few people and not sort of getting anywhere, I mean, you just got to ask around. And my little brother decided he'd like to do it with me. So that was good. It's been fantastic. And the other thing you've got to do a lot of research on is gear. And I mean, a lot of us old trampers have got some old gear that we really love, like our old boots and our old packs. But this pack, so you go ultralight. That's what it's called, ultralight. So this pack weighs 1 kilo, empty. 1 kilo. And these, you never would have seen me in plastic shoes before this, but these are the lightest, most versatile, toughest things you can wear. Because that's all you have. You have your boots. Actually, talking about boots, only about less than 10% of Araroa walkers wear boots. All the young ones wear shoes. But I like wearing boots, so I'm really good. That's me. So, I've got the, have you seen this ladder? The wooden ladder?
Do you want me to hold the pack for you, Jane?
Hmm?
Do you want me to hold the pack?
I don't know, that's not that heavy. So you've got your water bladder. I didn't really think these were much good until I realised that every time you want to drink, you have to take your pack off and get your water bottle out. But that's fantastic. You just fill it up. You can put electrolytes in if you want to. Some people do that. And it's on your back and you just sip away. I don't know. Have any people seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't need to go through it. So, you get these really cool dry bags. So if you go past over tit in a river, your gear stays dry. Everything stays dry, and it's really good to organise your gear. So you've got your food bag, you've got your dehydrated meals. There are some good ones, and there are some not so good ones. So you find out which ones. Those are really nice. Dehydrated food is always dehydrated food. Don't be cold. Those ones are really nice. And you've got these scroggins. Chewy things, but you know what? Scroggin is the best. And Gilmour. Gilmour. So you've got these scroggins with chocolate and with dark and you've got your tiny little cooker. Your pots. So that's your cooking pot, then you've got your little plate on top. Now, I always take a little toilet bag. Not everybody takes a toilet bag, but that's your toilet bag. Then you've got the first aid kit. This is all ultralight. And then you've got your fix-it bag. Well, that's not an ankle strap. You've got your little repair bag. Takes the little break. And the little bag dry, but most ones don't. That's your technology. So, on them, not in your pack, you're carrying your little PLB, your personal locator beacon. So that's a real cutie, and you have to put the little antenna. You have to register it. So you register it with whatever organisation, it's called Rescue Me. So you register it so they know who you are when you set it off. When you want to set it off, you press the button. You'd set it off for another person too if you found somebody else in trouble and they think they were looking for you, but actually they're going to find another person. We once saw one used, only once in the whole time we were walking, and it was the warden at Angela's hut in the Nelson Lakes. And she was racing up the track to meet some friends and sprained her ankle so badly she couldn't walk. So what do you do when you're up in the top of the mountains and you can't walk? You have to get rescued. So we witnessed the helicopter rescue, which was fun. Almost everybody carries these, but everybody should. And you carry it on your person. And these are really good because you put your phone there, because you always wanted to take a photo, and you'll see that's your navigation aid. So, yeah. Here. So you take your phone and you put it on flight mode, because you don't want all that, telephone rubbish. And then you can charge it with this little charger, and it's got 2.5 phone chargers on it. So you can get quite a few days out of that. But if that runs out, you have got your little solar panel, little portable solar panel, and you just put it on the table or the veranda of the hut when you get there, and a little bit of sunshine at the end of the day, and you've charged up your charger. Wow. And I didn't use it a lot, but very handy also. And this is my favourite. This is a little solar light. So it's called the Lucci light. So it's got this little solar panel. And it's got 3 different settings. And you can hang it up in a hut or a tent. Can't see with all these lights on. It's a brilliant little light, and it's very, very light. So yeah, I love little things like that. Made like this here. I mean, it's a little bit of weight, and everybody weighs everything. It's quite but my tent weighs a kilo. Don't use poles, you use your walking pole. That's the incentive tent pole. Your mattress, that weighs about 380 grams. And then the blow-up pillow. And your silk sleeping bag liner. Very nice. A little bit of luxury, but it's weighs nothing. I'm quite happy to carry that. Very light, 280 grams puffer jacket, but also doubles as a here I am, beacon. Right. And your lace will like this. I'll tell you if it's funny. This is a pea rag. I don't need to explain any more about that, but that's very handy. So you're not using toilet paper all the time. And raincoat for, all the usual stuff. Yeah, that's about covers gear. And walking poles, of course. Walking poles are essential. And these ones, they cost £10, so yeah. But, I didn't really used to use walking poles, now I use them. So, they're good sticks. That's right, Clifford. So then, yeah. What weight should you carry? Well, you should go before food. It was probably 10 kilos. So it's a really small pack too. And I can get everything in that pack. You don't need a big pack. You'd see some people with 25 kilo packs. Why? Why carry all that weight? I don't like carrying that. And with food and water, because some days you have to carry about 2 litres of water. And if you're on a long section, 6 days, you'd probably take 8 days worth of food. And, for lunches, we'd have crackers, salami, cheese, and peanut butter. That's it. Some people take bread, some people take wraps, some people take blocks of, big blocks of cheese. We just had a little, just measured out enough of the size of a block of cheese to last us. Anyway, you refine it down so that you're carrying the least for the most effect. And I've got all this up, but this is the planner for one section. So going south, starting at the top of Queen Charlotte track, which is probably a good place to start if you're doing it in sections. It's not too hard. It hasn't got, these kind of things. And it's so sometimes you'll find the section challenging. So you read the notes very carefully. So got my brother involved, and then another friend said he was keen to join us, so he would join us. I have to say, okay, I'll explain a little bit. With Te Araroa, there's some terminology. So a person who walks from one end to the other, sort of, breaking it up with if you like it, but in one hit, is called a through walker. A person who walks sections of it or chooses, so some people come from overseas and they just have time to do the South Island, so they do the South Island. So the people who break it up, which is what we did, are called section walkers. But we also took that a bit further, and we're sort of section walkers and choose our sections carefully. And that's based on weather. Oh, first of all, our fitness, weather, the time of year and the temperature, and whether we like road walking. A lot of it is actually road walking. Out of the 3,000 Ks, I don't know how many, a quarter of it would be road walking. I don't like road walking, so we miss those bits. We might get a shuttle, or we might have a car. Sometimes we have a car. So yeah, you work your way around it. So I'd do this, planning sheets, and I'd send it to the guys. I'd say, what do you think? And they'd say, yep, let's do it, and off we go. So when you're doing your preparation, you're looking at do you want to have a look at, anybody seen these topo maps? You can have a look and pass them around and have a look. And then there are pages and pages and pages of notes, very detailed notes about what to do and what not to do, and whose land you're allowed to go through and where you're not allowed to go off the trail, and there's all sorts of, rules. Because it's quite, in places, it's quite delicate about where you're allowed to walk. And there are people who don't obey what they've been told, and they upset the landowners, and the landowners say, well, we're going to shut our section. And that doesn't do anybody any good.
Jen, did you make that whole thing? Or
Yeah.
is that like a standard?
No, I made it. Yeah.
Okay.
I made it out of looking at the maps and looking at the notes. Did I give you some notes to look at? Those are all the notes. They're very detailed. Yeah. Notes about, where you stay, how long it is. Go through this gate, walk about 5 Ks, then go down the hill.
Notice that the notes didn't seem to cross-reference to the maps too well.
They don't. You're right. I've talked to them about that.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, there's enough on that one. Oh, there's my first. Isn't that marvellous? Now that we weren't actually on the track at that point. We were waiting for a bit of a weather window to do the Richmond range. But that is, I don't know if you know that, that's Lake Motuiti. The trail actually goes up that side of the lake. So we did that. But that's the top of the St Arnaud range. And there's a rock called Parachute Rock. And then you can go up to the top of the range. And there were 2 of these hang gliders up there all day. Walking back and forth, walking back. It was glorious, absolutely glorious. And a whole lot of Argentinian winery workers, I don't know what the vineyard workers. Anyway, they were fun.
Is that the no dangerous track on the other side?
The other side, yeah, that's the Mount Robert,
Yeah.
up that side,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had, fortunately, we had some family friends with a batch in St Arnaud. So that was a jolly good place to spend a few days while we were waiting for our weather window. That was a short weather window, but the weather windows might only be sort of 3 days, maximum 4, and then the snowstorm was in forecast. So we thought, do we want to be up in the mountains in a snowstorm? Nah. Oh, okay. This jumps around. It's not at all chronological. So in 2022, we started in Bluff in March, which is after the hot weather, because we don't like hot weather. And we thought as we go forward, further up the island, it'll warm up, Yeah, well, that was a bit of a flawed logic there. Anyway, that's my brother, my little brother, and that's Rod. And we call ourselves the Puku Pilgrims. You can see why. But that didn't stop us. We have wonderful, okay, so another terminology on the trail is trail angels. And they are people who do wonderful things to help you on your track. So we had a friend in Invercargill who drove us. So we did about 5 days at the bottom, around Bluff, Invercargill, just doing day walks. Because Laurie would pick us up in the morning, and we only had to use day packs. Pick us up in the morning and take us to the trail, pick us up at the night. He wasn't well, so he couldn't join in, but he'd always dress for the occasion, and he'd have his gaiters on and his best jacket and his pack and his boots. Now, people like that are just such a joy. Honestly, actually, I think the people we met were the most wonderful part of it. I mean, the scenery's wonderful, and all the other things that happened, but the people are just fabulous, just fabulous. Accommodation. Okay, so that's Double Hut in the middle of Canterbury. I'm not going to remember all the rivers. There's so many rivers in Canterbury, I'll just lose track of them all. And then that's the inside of it. If anybody hasn't seen the inside of a tramping hut, they're very rudimentary, but that's all you need. Luckily, the 20 schoolboys were sleeping in bivvies outside. And just the teacher was sleeping in the hut with us. Tents. So we all had our own little one-person tents. Finn actually had a two-person tent, but he's quite a big person, so that worked well for him. And this is in a disused quarry in Southland. When we decided we couldn't walk to the next road end, we had to stop. It was fairly early on when we were just getting used to our footwear, and Rod's, he brought, I don't know why, but he wore old shoes, and the soles just fell in the mud, in the wet, your soles fall off. We all know that now, don't we? And mine was starting to come off because I'd taken my favourite tramping boots. Well, that didn't work, so we ended up having to go back to Invercargill and buy new boots. And then we were set, and now I bought these ones, and I mean, these are fabulous boots. Lower. Since found out they're not actually made for tracks as rugged as Araroa, but the person who sold us them didn't say that. It was the person who had this. Yeah. You like them?
That's what I want.
Oh, so comfortable. Just comfortable. Accommodation we're talking about. There's a Kiwi hut called Captain's Hut in Pelorus River. Pelorus River's a fabulous place. Apart from the sandflies. Sandflies are atrocious. But you just come across these little gems. Now this was the bottom of the heap hut. It was just a corrugated iron shell, basically. And you can see the door's not even big enough. It had 2 bunks with no mattresses. It had a little tiny table you could cook your dinner on. And it had mice. Oh, no. The resident mouse actually sauntered in the hole by the door while we were eating our dinner before we didn't have the grace to wait till we went to bed. Anyway, this is where something like a silk sheet comes in very handy, because I thought, I can't sleep if I know this mouse is walking all over me, but I just put it over my face. And I'm sure it walked over us in the night, but I didn't. But it was bloody cold. A very cold night, and you can see why. In one picture, you'll see why. And we got our own back.
Carried a mouse trap.
Oh, there's one in the hut. Most of the huts have mouse traps, actually. Not that they always work, but yeah. And we have peanut butter with us. Yeah. And there's rather swankier form of hut. Now this is in the Modatapu walk, which goes from, we were going north. So we went from Arrowtown to Glendew Bay, Lake Wanaka. And the reason they've got such ugly huts is that Shania Twain's ex don't know if you know this story. Mutt Lang, his name is Mutt Lang, had bought this station, well, they built the station. And so one of the conditions was he had to build a track and put some huts in. So the track was atrocious. The track was like this.
Oh.
And then we found out there's a road all around the bottom of the valley, but you're not allowed to walk on it. But the huts were very nice. They were insulated and sealed, and they had big verandas and, nice wooden tables, and they were sealed. So you couldn't get mice and rats in them, which is the best thing, or sandflies. So it kept out all the sandflies. I mean, the good thing about the veranda was that my brother Finley snores. He sounds like a chainsaw starting up. So every time we came to a hut, we had to figure out where he was going to sleep. If it was a veranda one like this, he could take a mattress outside and sleep on the veranda happily and not disturb anyone. But he actually got in somebody's book, because we got to this really old hut with no veranda, 6-seater hut, 6-bunk hut, with 6 people in it, so there's nowhere to go. And he warned these people who, one of whom was the ex-mayor of Wellington, what's her name, Prendergast, and Kerry Prendergast and her 2 companions. And one of them wrote a book called Every Effing Inch, because that's the way they did the trail. They did every effing inch. And when we met them, they would just come in, they just helicoptered in to the place where they had to stop the previous season because of snow. And then they did that section. And the night they shared with us this really old hut called Stodie's Hut, Finley kept them awake with his snoring, so he made it into the book. Quite nice being notorious, eh? Now, this is a totally different class of accommodation, and I could recommend this place. It's called Powerhouse Lodge, and it's near Lake Coleridge, and it's not a place where people go. So the guy who runs it and his daughter did Te Araroa, and they worked out what people really wanted when they came out of a section and back into civilization, although it wasn't, it was fairly remote. And so he got hold of this lovely lodge, and he runs it with a trust or something. And he cooks everybody hot chips, and he's got a lovely bunk room area, laundry, places to put your tents, places to hang around and chat. And then he's got this lodge part with this beautiful big living room with a lovely open fire and a big kitchen, that you can cook your dinner in if you want to spend a bit more money. And we had a lovely night there. There was about 8 of us, and people were meeting up who had met up previously. So that's always, bit jolly. And I can recommend it. So it's opposite the powerhouse at Lake Coleridge, if you happen to go there. This is what happens when you eat breakfast and do the jigsaw puzzle at the same time. It wasn't very good. We did clean it up very carefully. So accommodation, this was a little blue number 2 cabin in Methven. And that was okay. Sometimes we didn't spend a lot of money on accommodation necessarily if we'd come out and we needed a day off and re-provision and all that sort of stuff. And so that's my niece's little car. So we had that car this March when we did the Canterbury section. But of course, what do you do with the car? You park it at one end and then you walk 4 days that way and your car's still back here. So, but that time we did a crossover, drop somebody off, drive the other end, crossover. We did it that way, which meant that I had to walk on my own some of the time. So that was interesting. That's another form of transport. Whanganui River. Who's done the Whanganui River? Oh, lots. Did anyone do it in flood?
Yes.
Well, no, they don't call it flood, because if they call it flood, they have to close it. Well, it rained and it rained and it rained. So anyway, I went with a couple of people who were in the Canadian. So they were in the Canadian. Sorry, I'm pointing at the screen here. You're watching this. They were in the Canadian. I was in one of the yellow one at the end with those little sit-on-top kayak. So that was fine. So they had all the barrels, and they capsized twice on the first day. So this was November. So it wasn't hot. But, there was oh, Judy wasn't in that. Oh, she took the picture. And Bob just standing behind me, and I don't know how experienced they were at kayaking. I never quite worked it out. Anyway, we were all in it together, and we all, rescued each other. Anyway, the 50-50 rapids. Who remembers the 50-50 rapids near the end? That's the one they show you on the briefing. Yeah. So we got to it wasn't in flood, but we got to each end of the day 2 hours earlier than the recommended time. So, you think, there's a lot of water in this one, we knew, because it was brown and very high, and the rapids weren't that high. Anyway, so I'm going down. I didn't realise how close we were to the end, and came up to this rapid, and I thought, oh, that's a big rapid. Okay, so you head down the V, and the big waves, and then suddenly I see this whirlpool. I'm thinking, I'm going to get out of this. Tried to get out of it, and couldn't, and it just sucked me under. Oh. Kayak, everything. It just sucked me in. And I sort of popped up, thank goodness, popped up, and my kayak's sort of still going round and round me like this, and my paddle was tied on, and my hat was tied on, and I had my Crocs on, they stayed on, and I managed to get to the bank and get back on, but of course, you know what happens after a rapid is the water goes back up the river again. It sort of forms this big, and in the 50-50 rapid, they actually take pictures of people going up and down and up and down. So much fun. So I thought, okay, I'll get back on and I'll head down. And I was behind everybody. I don't know why I was behind everybody. The whole group, sort of loose group that we were with, had already gone. So I got back in the kayak and I was trying to get downstream, and it kept taking me upstream. And guess what? I got back into this whirlpool again, and it turned me off again. And I'm going, up I come. And I couldn't get back to the bank this time. I couldn't get, to get back on my kayak. Well, there wasn't much in the way of banks. When the river's high, there's no beaches, there's no banks to get up on. So I thought, shit, Jane, what are you going to do now? So I stopped struggling. I stopped trying to swim. I stopped trying to get to the bank. And all of a sudden, I just popped out of it and started going down the river. Whizzing down the river, just me holding onto my kayak and my paddle. And then I remembered the rock. On the briefing, they say, go to the right-hand side of the big rock. Oh, no. Anyway, you don't hit rocks because the water's going like that. So I thought, okay, nice little life jacket. So I thought, I'll try and get back onto this kayak. And I did. Don't ask me how I managed to get back onto the kayak in the middle of the river, but I did. And so I started paddling down, sort of, my heart quietening down a bit. And there were my friends paddling back up the river, wondering where I was, because it's probably about 20 minutes of me farting around trying to get, in this stupid whirlpool. And they were paddling back up the river to find me. They were so sweet. Anyway, yeah, don't know if I want to do that again. Bit of an adventure, but I survived. You survive, eh? So views. Sorry. That is the very tip of Lake Wakatipu. Past Lanauki, all the way up on the, you come out on the Greenstone track. Oh, yeah. And after some of the tracks you go on, you walk down the Greenstone track. It's about this wide. And there's no rocks and no mud and no roots. And it's, you think, is that what a track's supposed to look like? But, so we got there and we got a hitched a ride to the little Kinloch that was taken at Kinloch, and then we thought, how are we going to get back to Queenstown? There's nobody, there's hardly anybody. And so we went and talked to the people in the accommodation. They said, the school bus is due any minute, and she drives back to Queenstown. So that was lucky. So we got a ride back with her. And she was a driver for the Lord of the Rings tours. So we got a Lord of the Rings tour all the way back to Queenstown, as well as hearing about her drug addict daughter and her, things people say, shouldn't really tell us this. Oh, that's my favourite. That is top of Breast Hill on the above Lake Hawea. And that's actually where my brother lives, Lake Hawea. and he's standing on top of a rock. That's why I'm holding on to that really ugly tripod thingy. That was kind of 4 kilometres straight. It took us, it was pretty slow. It was less than 1 kilometre an hour when you work out how fast you're going. But, you know, one of those days you always remember. Now that is Lake Angeles, and there's the hut. So it's a glacial cirque. So where I'm standing, all around is the edge of the cirque, and then you just go down this precipitous little rock. Can't really call it a track. It's just a whole lot of rocks, and yeah, very palatial hut, 28-bed hut, very nice. You have to book it, and that's off the track. But that was one of the bits we did that was off the track while we were, you know, waiting for our weather window.
Some of these things you've shown us, you're going in one direction and then you're going in another.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I worked it out.
And doing it at different times too,
Yeah.
because we did some in 2021, no, 2022, 2023, 2024. We haven't actually finished yet. I think there was some of the publicity said we'd finished. I think we haven't finished. Oh, don't you just love that? I think that was Southland. Sorry, I'm standing over.
It's fine.
That's a real goblin forest, that one. A little bit of mud. But yeah, there are lots of moss-covered forests, Loveland Beach Forest. I think that was Longwood Forest down in Southland, but there were a lot of them, or not. So this was the Tongariro crossing. Freezing cold, crowded, and then you got there and you couldn't see anything. Which, I mean, I did it 35 years ago, so I knew what it looked like, but, you know, it's just disappointing. But, and that's another one, Martha's Pass, somewhere in the middle of North Otago. And there's a navigation pole, which takes us to navigation. So you've got the regular orange markers, you've got the poles, but the best thing is the trail app, and it's an app, and it works on GPS, and you can tell where you are as long as you've got Sky and you've got satellites. So that's the trail, and I mean you can see it on the maps as well. You know, it's a riverbed, and that's me. That's where you are, and you can see there's a different trail. So if you get on that trail, and you're here, you think, oh, that's all right, and you check it regularly. You know. Does everybody know about topographical maps? Yeah, so you can see how steep it is, or not. You can go off the trail if you want to and go back on it because you can see exactly where you are. So who needs compass and stuff like that? I mean, and it's fantastic because it's got the trail on it, and it's got, you know, features, huts.
What's the name of the app? Right.
The trail app. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, oh, there are other apps.
Yeah.
So you've got one called Far Out, you've got NZ Topo, has got, you know, Topo maps, obviously. Well, you actually download them into your phone, so you've got them in your phone. There are a few apps, and some of them have got far more information than you really need. I like this one because it's simple. And you theoretically can't get lost.
Those apps have changed to accommodate things like changes in river courses and that. They updated regularly, do you know?
It is updated, but it's you know, you've got the limitations. You've got all these trusts and all these volunteers who you know, who update everything, huts, track, everything. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the time there are slips and the trail changes because there's a slip, or yeah, and some of the big rivers do, you know, one bit that was deep last year isn't deep this year, and vice versa. So yeah, yes and no is the answer to your question. So other forms of navigation are cairns. Now, they're extremely useful with people who walk past a junction because it wasn't marked properly, have put up a cairn. So you take notice of them because They're an informal but very useful form of navigation. They're not just put there for fun, we discovered after ignoring one and going the wrong way. I can get lost more than once a day. I'm hopeless. That's why I find the trail app fantastic.
Being dirty line.
Hmm?
Being dirty line.
I know. You wouldn't think somebody could get so lost in their own neighbourhood, would you? Now I love this. This is sort of painters stuff. So that's that last section we did on the way to Double Hut with a little marker pole in it. So you know this is actually a vast plain of that sort of dry stuff.
Is it near Araroa, is it?
No, it's near Rukaya River. Where did we come out? Oh, some of these places I've never heard of before. You know, they're way, way in the Canterbury backcountry, and I had to get to the end of the road and then pick up the car and then drive around all the way around to meet my brother. And I got to an intersection and I had absolutely no inkling about which way I had to turn. So luckily, a couple of ladies in a dock truck came past because I thought I could drive for 20 k's in that direction and I'm going in completely the wrong direction. You know, you'd think it'd be easy, mountains that way, plains that way, but no, it's not. Oh, that's my favourite tree. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, how many of these photos do you have? You just have. Oh yeah. So this is Longwood Forest in Southland, which we called Long Mud Forest. That's what the trail's like, or even wetter. And Rod fell in up above his waist, so he's looking very miserable, and he's got tape around his shoes to try and keep the soles on his shoes. It's 5 more minutes. Sorry, we had to take a photo. We learned that when things like this happen, you have to take photos. Spaniard grass. It's not grass, it's spears. They're spears and they're very nasty. Matagari. And in Canterbury, you've got gorse as well. You know, you think, oh, we can get through here. No. Walk up the river. Sandflies. That's another one of the pitfalls. I found that picture. I didn't take it. Oh yeah, how about the 3-wire suspension bridge? I mean, I knew it was coming up, and I said to myself, "You can do this, Jane. You can do this." Actually, you could have walked across the river, but you know the rivers are quite low because Canterbury's had a drought. But no, we went across it, and it's really taut, so it actually wasn't that hard at all. A three-wire bridge. 3-wire bridge. 3. 1 below and 2 up there. So your normal suspension bridge is that one. And Rod wasn't happy on suspension bridges, especially high ones. You don't know these things until you start walking with people.
I did the 2-wire bridge.
Yeah.
On the National Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
The idea about watching the
Yeah.
you must stay on the bridge. If you get to the other side, okay,
Yeah.
then you've got to walk back.
Oh,
It's all in the water, so you use it one.
now you've got to hang on.
And it's just like,
And did you?
this
Oh,
is
well
like
done.
not very,
2-wire bridge. I don't know about it.
in the ghetto. It's not wide.
This one is, I
What could be
think
called,
this-
like, not on the water.
just off Arthur's Pass, the start of, no, Lewis Pass. We started the section from Lewis Pass to Arthur's Pass. I think it was there. Bit deep to cross that river.
Just down Browning Hut. At Arthur's Place.
No, we didn't stay in that one, I don't think. Is that the one just off?
The other side, you get 2 points.
Don't think so.
I
Don't
get
think
2
so.
points.
We haven't been everywhere. Now this is an irrigation pipe, and we thought, oh, we'll just walk up the river and then we'll join the track later. And then we saw this pipe. Oh, we'll walk up the pipe. Well, it was fine for a while until it got really steep, and then the foliage on either side got really, really sticky and prickly and horrible. And then we realised we were quite lost. Anyway, we made it out. We made it out. We realised after a while we weren't that far from the road, where there was a road, not a well-used one. But yeah, the dangers of going off the trail. It looks quite nice, doesn't it? But yeah, it was for a while. River crossings. Sorry. Finn was the river crossing king, so he always went first. And that is a nice little river, but as you can see, there's not a lot of bank, and you sort of cross. One morning, there was a river with 47 river crossings. So you just get so used to it, you just get wet and off you go, because you can't sort of climb up the banks. There's no track up the bank, so you just have to keep crossing. Well, you just walk straight up the river, really.
Some quite big.
Well, we managed to walk mainly in good weather, so we didn't have high rivers. And the rivers we expected to be high, and the ones they said, watch out for this river, it's really high, don't cross if it's been rain and stuff, they weren't that bad. Tree fall, awful lot of tree fall. And you wonder about the storms that must come through to topple all these trees. There were huge sections of forest in all sorts of places. I mean, you get the odd tree, but, this one was just, the forest was just a mess. Just, yeah, that's nature, I guess.
Then you've got to negotiate your way around, make sure you get to the other side.
And find the track again. I know. Well, usually somebody else has done it before you. There were this season there were 4,000 trail walkers on the trail. Oh, do I have to stop soon? Okay.
No, you don't. Do what we do.
Anybody spot the reason for this picture? That's the white stuff. Yeah, that was on the way to the worst hut of all. That's when we realised it could be a very cold night because there'd been snow.
Wow.
It wasn't that high either. Nice little trek through the beech forest. The beech forest is just gorgeous. Oh, this is one of my favourites. This is the Araroa River. I'm talking about Araroa River. Can't see in that photo, but there was ice on my tent when I woke up in the morning. And I had all my clothes on. I had all my long johns, all my long pants, all my merinos, my puffer jacket. I'd had and it was still cold. My sleeping bag wasn't really good enough.
What month did you do that?
That was very end of March. Should have been more. That's gorgeous up there. Gorgeous. 90 Mile Beach. A lot of people start on 90 Mile Beach, and as a result, they get lots of blisters. Everybody complains about the blisters, but we didn't. We actually started from Bluff and then did most of Otago, most of Canterbury, most of South Island, most of Otago, and then it got too cold. That was the last photo. And then we went up north and came down and did most of Northland. And so we had hardened our feet by that stage. But I love 90 Mile Beach. I thought...
The sea's on the wrong side if you go north.
No, she's looking south.
Walking south.
So,
We're walking south. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And there's no tricks, there's no signs telling you what to do. There's no buildings, there's the odd vehicle. Hardly any people. There's birds, there's... I loved it. And these two are doing walking meditation, so you can't talk to them.
Sand hard on the knees. Sand hard on the knees. 'Cause you're basically walking on concrete.
I didn't find it too bad.
Yeah.
You get good boots, good socks,
How
good
about-
thick
how about
merino
water?
socks.
How about water? We struggled with water at the night.
No, we had enough.
Mhm.
Well, we didn't walk big long days. We did other rewards. There we are. Those are the new...
At high tide on 90 Mile Beach, did you have to walk in deep dry sand?
No. There was always wet sand all day. I don't know. I don't know how high the tide. Maybe it wasn't a high tide time of year. We didn't have any trouble on that beach with the tide coming in. We did have, other beaches there were a few problems.
Did you start right at the very top and walk over the farmland before you got through 90 Mile Beach?
Yeah. There's a couple of headlands and another couple of beaches before you get to the
I
beach.
bet there were wild dogs there.
Yeah, we heard about that. And we weren't sure if we were going to meet them or not. We weren't camping. We didn't camp. We actually did day trips there. But we didn't see any evidence of the wild dogs. I wasn't really keen to meet them. I think they've culled a lot of them.
For part of the 90 Mile Beach, there's a road just inside the sand dunes, runs parallel.
It's a lot of forestry. Yeah.
Where's that?
That's a Methven, the new pools at Methven. I think they probably rival Hanmer Springs for the most expensive swim in New Zealand, but you know, we did spend some time in the Hanmer Springs. The rewards, look at that. These two guys in the pub in Queenstown, and these scones are from Allwhango. You want the biggest scones in New Zealand? There's one cafe in Allwhango, which is on the way to National Park, in the middle of the North Island. 3 of us ate that. And the best breakfast was Taumanui. That was a lovely omelette and Taumanui. There we are. I mean, your food becomes, as you know, it's a bit of an issue. Oh, and this was about 3 days in, Ziffy's restaurant with blue cod and oysters halfway along the trail. Well, you know, you could have stopped and had lunch, don't you? It's right there.
First day.
It was about day 3, I think. Not far off Oreti Beach. That is Hauhora Harbour, where we based ourselves to do Northland. Yeah. Look at them. Those little robins, you know, they come and see you every day when you stop for lunch. They're just so good. I haven't got a lot of wildlife photos because it's hard getting birds. Oh, but you know, things like in the beech forest, you get to this little valley and then all these bellbirds are just serenading you. I mean, it's just divine. I just love it. That was a hut weka. We kind of just went all around the hut, keeping an eye on us, all around the room. Yeah, they steal food, don't they? Oh, this is the ostrich. This is near National Park. And I've got a video of the mating dance he did for us, but I don't think we can play it. He was quite interesting. That, I think, is the Greenstone River. Yeah. Sorry, that is Whangarei Head. Now, that's some fabulous walking down there. Loved it.
A lot of steps.
A lot of steps. 1,200 steps going down, I counted them. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, that's, sorry, I'm pulling you. That's Martin Point in the background. And you walk down that beach, that Marsden Point beach. A lot of horses and cars on that beach, though. Some of my favourite beach forest shots. Sorry, John, I'm going over, aren't I? And we're going to ask questions at the end, but you've been asking questions. Those are my buddies for the Tongariro crossing. That's Judy from Perth. Do you see how many clothes we've got on? It wasn't warm. And it's one of my favourite shots of the Canterbury. Just the you know, walking through the lovely grass with all the grasshoppers chirping, singing to you all the way. And that was another off-track little section, Banks Track. Nobody's done it. That's a fabulous wee track. I could go on about that. That's fabulous. Looking down over the Araroa Harbour. Oh, this is it's Oreti Beach in Invercargill. And there were there were these wrecks regularly along the beach. And we sort of thought, it's interesting. And then at one point we pulled up and stopped for a break, and this car came zoom to us. We thought, oh God, I hope we're safe. And so we just sat and smiled, and a young guy and a couple of women got out of the car and just came sauntering up, and this guy had Bogan tattooed on his leg, as if he didn't know by looking at him. And he knew the history of every one of these cars on the beach. and he told us. And then we said, oh, how fast do you... It was Bert Munro's beach.
Oh, yeah.
And we said, oh, how fast can you go in your car? 100 k's on the beach? He said, nah, 200. It was just hilarious. He didn't know how funny he was. You know, we were trying not to laugh. I love that one. That's one of my faves. That's one of the rivers in Canterbury. Red rocks. Who knew you could get so many red rocks? I'm nearly the end. That's a lovely. That sort of cathedral. Yeah, just a land formation. That
Don't need the clay cliffs, is it?
Clay Cliffs, Canterbury.
Oamaru.
No.
Oamaru come out of Araroa.
No. It was
Oamaru.
Oamaru, no. This was on the track. It was right in the middle of nowhere. Sorry. I could look at, if I looked at the map, I could find it. A scree slope. There everybody knows the dual tramp, as you all know, ski slopes. Well, that's the track across it, and it had horse hooves on it, and the track was like was this wide, and if you miss it, you're sliding down the hill, and they took horses over it. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah.
That's from Canterbury. That's from this year's walk. It's I think it's the Waimakariri going up to Arthur's Pass. Rather lovely view. There we are, Mavora Lakes. Now I've never heard of Mavora Lakes, and in the north of Southland. It was a warm day, so we needed a swim.
Did you go from there to the Greenstone?
Yeah.
Or the other way?
Yeah, up to the Greenstone. And that's it, I think. That's my last one. It's Rakai Gorge. I love that place. There's a lovely walk there.
Lovely, Tom.
Wow.
You've done excellent.
Have I?
Yep.
Well, it's 59 slides.
That's right. You've done that.
55 minutes.
55 minutes. 55 minutes
Oh.
and 6 seconds.
Well,
That's very good.
I mean, everybody's asked questions, but if there are any more questions, is anyone planning to do Te Araroa?
Now,
Oh, you are? Wow, when? Okay. I'm happy to talk to people about stuff if you want to know. I mean, there's the website. You're on the Facebook page. I'm sure you've been on the Facebook page. Yeah.
You spend on all your kit equipment, you said you updated stuff that you had in the past. How much did you spend on that?
Probably a couple of $1,000. My son said, Mum, $2,000. I said,
You need to
3,000 kilometres.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't skimp on any of it.
Yeah.
Just get yourself some really good gear.
When did the sorbets give up?
Well, we didn't push ourselves too hard. Actually, one of the challenges I missed out is a bit of the elephant in the room, really, isn't it? I mean, most of the people who do it, 90% of the people who do it would be, under 40. But there are kids, there are young kids. People even did it with a baby in a backpack or front pack or something, especially with the sandflies. But, you just, if you decide you're going to do it, you just do it. And you do it at your pace. Nobody's telling you how far you have to go each night. If you want to go 6Ks, and it's like this, then that's what you do. You don't have to go 30Ks every day. It's not compulsory.
Yeah.
So we, some days ended up being 11-hour days, and you get to the end and you just crash into your bunk. Somebody put some water on my dinner, But yeah, I think you enjoy it. You do it at a pace and a way where you enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, then why bother doing it, really? Yeah, that's our philosophy.
Did you find it's hard to get the what was like getting the resupplies? Getting the food?
Well, didn't have any trouble. Generally, wherever you came out to a main road, you'd be able to organise a shuttle. I mean, some of the shuttles aren't very cheap, but you team up with other people. You might get 4 or 6 of you and get a shuttle, or hitch a ride. Lots of hitching went on. We'll get friends to come and meet you. My brother has got friends all over New Zealand. He's a really good person to tramp with. He, friends with houses, and they think, these two look as if they need support. We'll invite them to stay for a couple of days. Such nice people. And they just spoiled us to bits. They must have taken pity on us but we had a wonderful time. We've had a wonderful time, and we still will. We haven't stopped. So yeah, if you guys want to ask anything, or I can give you my number, you can get together and talk over a coffee or something like that. Happy to. Yeah.
Do you find people who are doing short distances, they just camp on the side of the track?
Yeah, you can camp in lots of places, and then there are places where you are not allowed to camp. And if you do, and somebody finds out, they will report you, and then, poor Te Araroa Trust has got an issue to deal with, because you're not allowed to camp there. They say, do not camp on such and such a side of the river. But I quite like, I didn't camp much. We didn't camp much. We tried to stay in huts as much as possible. But I quite like, water and a toilet and a shelter or something like that, if it happens to rain or something.
Jane's very organised. You could call her up and she'd say, oh no, I'm just planning this section here. And she'd be an hour or two going 20 kilometres and everything would be like it was on the first site, telling you exactly where you're going to go, which markers you have to go past. And so if you're going to do it, it would be my recommendation that you spend a lot of time doing your research.
And I mean, if you're into Facebook, you know, you just ask a question and you get 60 people answering you, you know, from all over the world, all with some with a lot of different answers. But you know, you just pick the one you like. I've got one.
Too many months where they were already.
No, well, we didn't travel in the peak time in the sort of December, January, February. We avoided it mainly because it's too hot for me. I don't like the heat. But then we got the cold. So, you know, I need to get a better sleeping bag. If I got a better sleeping bag, I'll be fine. It just, yeah.
Did you lose much weight? Did you lose much weight?
Yeah. And put a bit on, and then lost it again, put a bit on.
What about the boys?
They did, and put a bit on, you know. They had a bit more to lose than I did. If we kept walking, you know, instead of stopping and going back and doing, you know, stopping and starting isn't conducive. But yeah, you can. Yeah, it's a good way to lose weight. Yeah.
How long, so you say you did sections, but how long did you do that, over a month or 2 months or?
Well, the first year we did probably 2 months. We did March, and then, you know, somebody's birthday, so you have to get home to somebody's birthday, you know, so this is what happens when you're not from overseas. If you're from overseas, you haven't got all that stuff. And then we did Northland until it rained, and it didn't stop, so we stopped in the park. So that was probably less than a month. Last year we did a month. My brother's still working, so he has to get back to work. This year we did a month. Now, I read some interesting research, and they talk about neuromuscular training. And apparently, after you've walked for about a month, you know, I can see some people running, you get super legs. And it is true. After a month, you feel as if you could walk anywhere. You can walk up the mountain. It takes a month. Yeah. So if you only walk for a month, you're kind of wasting all that fitness. Anyway. Yeah. Any more questions before I finish? I'm just going to say a little bit before I finish. Why?
Did the boots last the whole trip?
Oh, well, mine did. Yeah. Mine have so far. So these boots have done about 1,200 Ks. I got them, one little bit was coming apart. And one of these bits. And we were in Christchurch, and my brother's boots fell apart, so he had to go and buy a new pair. But I went to, he said, oh, I know a little guy who repairs boots. Went into this place in the mall, $15, and an hour later, he'd fixed them. Now, can you imagine anything like that happening in Auckland? 3 weeks and $100 in Auckland if you want your boots fixed. I was amazed. But yeah, these, to be fair, he's carrying a lot more weight and a bigger pack, and, you know, he'd be harder on his boots. But no, these have got heaps of miles left in them, heaps of tread left. Good tread. Money. Money. Sorry, I saw another question. Did you want to
ask which bits you got?
bits everywhere. Some of the high bits, you've probably looked at the mountains. Some of the really high, gnarly bits we haven't done because we didn't get the weather window to do it, and we didn't want to rush through. Well, you can't rush through the mountains. We can't. Some people try. So, yeah, bits here and there. And then there was in Southland there was a station, Linton Station, and you had to do 40 Ks through the station because you couldn't stop and camp anywhere. No. So you had to miss the whole section, which is a shame. That kind of thing, you know, or bits up north where people decided they didn't want you walking past and seeing what they were doing, so they closed a section. You know, there's all sorts of little bits and pieces. So yeah.
So that 40K, that was a criteria. If you did that, but you had to walk 40K that day. That's ridiculous.
Well, the young ones. No, they didn't want anybody camping on the shed station. And I think last I heard they'd stopped people walking on it, so that people must have to find an alternative route, because, yeah. The next bit, I don't know. We start with an easy bit. So we start with an easy few days to get a bit fit. And I mean, you know, we're fit, but we're not that fit. It's all relative, isn't it? Fitness. Yeah, we haven't talked about it, haven't discussed it, haven't planned it. I actually injured my knee, so I have to get that sorted first. Not up there. I injured it on the walkway near home. That was dumb. So anyway, why walk to Araroa? So I'm reading this because otherwise I wouldn't remember it. Spending time with a variety of people, spending time with yourself and facing your fears, building physical and mental resilience, managing without luxuries, like showers, you know, but then you're all trampers, so you know about that. The sweet reward of working hard, the importance of relationships and family, a love and wonder of nature. And one thing that it tells, you know, it brings home is there's a lot of nature out there. You know, when you live in the city, you think, oh, the nature's all disappearing. Well, it's not. There's just hill after hill after hill of beech forest. You know, they just go on and on and on. This lovely beech forest. With beech forest come all the birds, of course. And but a deep respect for how vulnerable you are whilst experiencing its beauty. And that's true. So I feel you become part of nature by dint of labouring through it, sitting amongst it, and listening, watching, and feeling nature in action, taking risks, falling, experiencing heat, cold, pain, and triumphing over one's difficulties. And to me, it's a bit of a spiritual quest, really. Well, it's a pilgrimage, isn't it? And that's why people do it, I guess, for all these reasons and more. Right.